Today, inshallah, we continue from where we left off last week, في تفسير Surat AlRahman, explanation of Surat AlRahman. And today, inshallah, we will conclude it, as we only have a little bit left of it, inshallah ta'ala. And then next week, or maybe even today, I may give a little bit of an introduction for Surat Al-Waqi'ah, which we're coming towards the end of this juz', subhanAllah. And again, a quick reminder, Surat Al-Rahman is within the cluster of surahs from Qaf to Al-Hadid. And from Qaf to An-Nas is called Al-Mufassal. And the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ speaks about how فُضِّلْتُ بِالْمُفَصَّل, meaning I was given extra over all of the other prophets before me within their revelations and within their books, the Mufassal. These ones are different. Like you'll find similar surahs, you'll find other stuff in the Torah, the Injil, and the Zabur, and other Alwah, similar to certain surahs in the Quran. But then Al-Mufassal from Qaf to An-Nas, he used to talk about ﷺ of having its own significance and importance. And that's why I'm actually doing the tafsir of it, because I think it's important that we all understand it. And if you aren't someone who has memorized a lot of the Quran and doesn't feel like memorization is your friend, then these are really good. Like, this is a really good amount of surahs of the Quran to bet on. Like if you want to know a little bit of the Quran, not sure what to start with, just know the Mufassal. Know from Qaf to An-Nas. And then you have Qisar al-Mufassal, which is the short and comprehensive, which is from Al-Duha to An-Nas. But the Mufassal means the comprehensive, the ones that explain things in detail, even though they're very short. They're not long. And that's why these surahs, to me, are important. And I've done them before. Like I've explained them in the city as well, specifically before. But I find them to be important, and I don't like going into the tiwal that have a lot of fiqh, or fiqh rich, and they're filled with rulings and aspects of jurisprudence. Rather these surah are much more focused on the values and the ethics and the principles and the basic understandings of Islam, which I think is more important for us to learn. And this cluster from Qaf to Al-Hadid specifically are just a number of comparisons. Each surah offers you choices that you're supposed to make. Two things that you're confronted with. You have to choose one of them and compare between them. And each surah had its own topic. And Surah Al-Qaf obviously had the ultimate comparison, or the ultimate choice, which is choosing between righteousness and falsehood, between the path of Jannah, the path of Jahannam, wal-iyadu billah. Once you make the choice, and yes, I want to be the path of righteousness, then you go ahead and you continue to recite the surahs afterwards, or else you don't have to continue to waste your time here if you choose the other. And then Surah Al-Dhariyat talks about whether you choose to live with purpose or aimlessly. Surah Al-Tur looks at whether you live with guidance, where you choose guidance, or you choose lack of guidance, or walking basically blindly. Surah Al-Najm, the comparison between making your decisions based on certainty of knowledge versus based on whims and desires and assumptions. And Surah Al-Qamar and Al-Rahman, they both look at blessings or bounties, or what hand you've been dealt in this life. And the same concept of bounties, each surah is looking at differently. Surah Al-Qamar tells you, well, either you contemplate and you actually use what you've been given properly, or it's taken away, or you're punished, or you end up regretting not doing that, which is why the surah kept on saying, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. You've been given the Quran. Are you going to use it well? Are you going to contemplate and reflect? Or are you going to do what everyone else did before you, and then find their same destiny? And Surah Al-Rahman, same thing, still the bounties and blessings, but the question is, are you going to be grateful, or are you going to lose it all? That's why this question kept on repeating itself 30 times. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبُونَ. Which of these bounties of God do the two of you not want to show gratitude for? Time and time again. And we went through Surah Al-Rahman. Surah Al-Rahman basically is just counting blessings. That's why the first ayah is the ultimate blessing. The first ayah is Ar-Rahman, the stories from the Quran, that is the ultimate blessing. The biggest bounty that we have as human beings, that our Lord is Ar-Rahman by nature, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the most compassionate. And there's nothing that is more bountiful and more blissful for us than the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Rahman. And that is the one blessing that we should continue the rest of our lives, showing gratitude and thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the fact that He is Ar-Rahman. And then He continues, Allama al-Quran, He taught revelation, Khalaqa al-Insan, He granted you life, Allamahu al-Bayan, He gave you the ability to communicate and gave you intellect. None of the bounties that are talked about in Surah Al-Rahman are specific. None of them apply to one group of people, not another. All of the bounties and blessings of Al-Rahman apply to all, because all they do is point out what subhanahu wa ta'ala created. And this is an important theme in the Quran. I want you to take a moment to think about this. The Quran is always getting you to take a step back from your reality so that you are capable of acknowledging what you actually have within it. We, as humans, are designed to take things for granted really quickly. It's just a part of our character. Like, we just take things for granted. We can't help it. Once it's always there, we stop noticing it. Once it's always around us, we're always subjected to it. We just don't feel like it means anything anymore. And that's why children aren't very thankful to the amazing circumstances that their parents have provided for them, which is why this problem exists in homes, where parents are frustrated and children are frustrated as well, because there's a problem here. It's not something that happens innately. It doesn't just occur to a human being. The ability to step out, to zoom out a little bit of their own reality and acknowledge or recognize what they actually have and see it for what it is. It's not easy. It's very difficult. It's actually almost impossible if there's no one teaching you how to do it. And sometimes the only way for that to happen is that you have to be put in other alternative circumstances. You actually have to see and maybe taste and go through a little bit of difficulty to understand, oh, this is actually, oh my gosh, this is amazing. The fact that I have this is not even, I can't believe I haven't noticed it. And it goes into everything, every aspect of our lives, really. We sit here together as a group, and even though I'm speaking about this, and you would assume that saying this, I must be very thankful. But I'm just like you. I make the mistake all the time. I can't remember the last time I was thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the fact that I'm able to hear, and that I'm able to speak, or that I'm able to see, or that I'm able to feel, or that I'm able to smell. Or you forget to do these things, the basic senses. You forget to ask Allah to show gratitude for that. The fact that you live in a place where you're safe and you're not scared for your life when you go home. The fact that you have enough food in your fridge to eat. All these things that are just normal basics, we don't show gratitude for. The Quran doesn't even talk about that. Because you could easily argue that some people have one of their senses missing, or don't have enough food, or are very scared. The Quran just talks about the world around you. It tells you you're made of the soil of the earth. That's a blessing. And we we explained how that is. You have the seas, different oceans, or different bodies of water, some salty and some fresh, and they have within them, that's a blessing. The fact that the ships are able to move on water and they don't sink right away is a blessing. The fact that you die is a blessing. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accountability ready for everyone is a blessing. All of it. These are all blessings that we all have in common. They're just something we all have in common. But we just don't notice because it's there, so there's no reason to. It's just easy to kind of overlook them. True maturity in my mind, or I mean Islamic maturity, forgive me. And true Islamic maturity comes through the ability to become more sensitive towards these things. That's really what it is. Your Islamic maturity is your ability to see more and more how much you're given and how little you appreciate it all, which kind of generates within you the desire to be better, to be grateful, to show gratitude, to work more with what you have, and to serve those around you with it. And that's what Islamic maturity actually is. It's just that sensitivity starts to become higher and higher and higher. And without that, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't. You won't be. You want to be able to pray properly. Well, prayer is just your relationship with God. Your relationship with God is based on how you view Him. That's all it is. It's just how you see Allah. Do you see Allah as one who has basically smothered you with blessings to the point where you will never, no matter what you do, be able to even scratch the surface of the gratitude you need to show Him? Then the way you speak to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, will reflect that. And if not, then not. It's as simple as that. It's very simple. Like this whole, you're standing there, you're trying to basically squeeze a tear out. This is what do you know? That's not, no. You don't need to do that because it's not even genuine. You'll be thinking about a sad video you saw on TikTok, and then that's what made you cry in the salah. Your actual ability to feel khushu' comes from your comprehension of God. It's how you understand Allah, your relationship with Allah, what He has given you, what hand He has dealt you, really. Because when I talk about that, you start thinking, what hand did He deal you? Oh, well, I grew up here, or I was given this, or this, my parents lived here. It's way beyond that. Surat AlRahman is saying, no, before you go into that, let's go back. How about we start with I am AlRahman? I could have been anything else. And you would have no ability to change that. It's not like by popular vote, he's AlRahman. It's not like we had some intervention on this. No, he could have been anything. And how have that? And what could you have done about it?
On the day of judgment, if he changes all, what could you do? Tell me. What can you do? If you come to the Qiyamah, he's like, you know what? None of this. Everyone, yellow, open jar, everyone. What are you going to do? What are you going to object? Is there some party, is there some organization you're going to go to and they're going to bring in lawyers? Nothing. You have nothing. We own nothing. We have no ability to ask for anything or to object to anything or to raise Yawm al-Qiyamah. No one speaks. No one dares speak. Everyone stands there quietly. Just quietly. وَلَا تَسْمَعُ إِلَّا هَمْسًا. You just maybe whispering, even then nothing. He did not give the permission for anyone to speak. So the fact he's AlRahman, that's huge, because I wouldn't have been able to do anything if he wasn't. It's not like I would have. The fact that he revealed, he sent revelation, he gave us the ability to learn so that we would live a life that is worth living. It keeps on going. The surah just talks about the basics. Just looks at the sun and the sky and the moon and the wind and the mountains and the rain and the earth and the seas and the oceans and just existence. When your sensitivity level rises, you truly understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. You understand who you are in comparison or in contrast. Then you're motivated to become much more grateful. And you feel I'm not doing nearly enough. But there's a difference between I'm halfway there versus I'm a quarter way there versus I've been walking in the opposite direction for a very long time. There's a difference between I'm in debt for like 100 versus 1,000,000 versus infinity. It's not the same. You can't act like it's the same. We're in debt to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala in an infinite amount. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. If you count His blessings, you will never end. You will end to it. It's an infinite amount of blessings that exist. Infinite. And we've been walking in the opposite direction for decades. So no matter what we do, we can't even come close. That's not supposed to make you feel like the race is not worth running. It's just actually supposed to motivate you to try as hard as you can. You know you can't really repay Him. At least show Him that you care. At least put on a display of intention, of genuine intention, of trying to do the best you can. Everyone loves that. Everyone respects that. Everyone respects an athlete that tries their best, even if their team is losing like 10-0. A player who keeps on getting up and trying and pushing you respect that. You respect that attitude, that grit, that commitment. And I know I can't make up for it. I know there's 2 minutes on the clock and I'm 10 goals down. It's impossible for me to make up for it. Again, take the analogy into whatever sport you like, because I only know the actual football, not the other one. And it's impossible, but you still play. You know what? Just kick the ball around until you don't take a knee until the referee blows the whistle. You do your best, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking for is do your best. Acknowledge and recognize the huge gap between what I have given you and how you're living, so that you may try your best, which is the verse we left off last week. We cited ayah number 61, which is the question, but the ayah before that, because Surat AlRahman is just sections, a verse that points out a blessing and then the question. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, left unanswered for the entirety of the surah, even at the end of it, not answered. You have to answer this. The question is your question. It's for you. You have to figure out what your answer is. But He says subhanahu wa ta'ala, after a lot of Surah Al-Rahman is describing Jannah. A small piece of it is describing Jahannam. And even Jahannam, that's a blessing. The fact that there's a place for those who transgress and oppress and torture and mistreat and show hatred and spill blood and ruin people's lives. The fact that there's a place for them, that they will find justice on the day of judgment, that's a blessing. It's a blessing that there's somewhere like that. That people who go around ruining others' lives can't get away with it. That they will be brought to justice on the day of judgment is a blessing. Whether we comprehend it that way or not is a different story. But then the majority of the Surah Al-Rahman is just talking about Jannat al-Na'im. It's talking about paradise. And it talks about it in the form of وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّةً, and those who fear the status of their Lord. Or, which I think is the better translation, those who fear the day they stand in front of their Lord. It just makes more sense to me, but you could easily understand it the first way. It's fine. Jannatan, they get two paradises or two gardens, and then He describes subhanahu wa ta'ala those gardens. And at the end of it, He tackles all the basic needs. He talks about the curiosity and the food and the drink and the intimacy and everything that you need, all the variety. It's all covered there. All the stuff that really stimulate us and make us want to do more or want to get somewhere. At the end of it, he says, هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. What do you think it's a rhetorical question. There's no, again, this is a question that you're not supposed to answer because it's understood. What did you think the reward for excellence was going to be, aside from excellence? You think you're going to give me your best and I wouldn't give you mine. You give me your best and I'll give you mine. That's what he's saying, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Give me your best and come and see what my best looks like. Imagine what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's best looks like. Imagine what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's standard of excellence will look like if you just show him your standard of excellence in your life. You can't scratch this. We can't. There's nothing we can do to repay him because we don't have the currency. He doesn't need anything that we've got. So there's nothing to do. So the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is figurative. It's doing what he asked us to do, which is the service of others, to the best of our ability by showing gratitude for what we were given. What were you given in life? What is it? What are the blessings? Take a moment to think about them. So that's the whole point of Surat AlRahman. Because whatever you think about, you're going to miss all the basic stuff. You're going to miss them. You're going to miss the fact that he's Ar-Rahman, and that he created you, and that he gave you revelation, and that you have intellect, and that you live on this planet, not somewhere else in that dark nothingness of space that is not welcoming, by the way, to our species by any stretch of the imagination. Just the fact that we're here. That is a huge blessing. Are you grateful for it? Do you care? Does it matter to you? Or is this something that once you have a child, you'll understand what I'm talking about? Until then, just pocket this information. Hear it, pocket it, just keep it there. Once you have a kid, you'll know exactly what I mean. When you're working, it's good. Yeah. Yes. It's the opposite. Yeah, it could be the opposite as well. So it could be easily the opposite. So the question here is when you say هل جزاء الإحسان الإحسان, could it be that he's already given us everything? So could it be that we're expected to show excellence? And yes, definitely that's the understanding. I would not see it to be incorrect by any measures at all. But within the context of the verses that we're reading, that are filled with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promises of reward for us, it fits for me a little bit more to be the opposite. It's as if saying, because those who are in Jannah have nothing to prove anymore. They've already kind of proven themselves to the point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was satisfied with it. So he's kind of pointing out what he's offering. But the opposite understanding is very profound. Meaning, if when you look at Hal Jaza'u al-Ihsan il-Ihsan, you say that he's shown you, which is what the whole point of Surat Ar-Rahman is pointing out all of the blessings he's giving you. So if you take that and say he's already shown the excellence of his blessings, so maybe it's your turn to show excellence in return. That's just as good. And I think both are pretty much the same. The concept being that your best and then Allah's best. Both will come. It's just, are you able to? He had already shown him. His best subhanahu wa ta'ala is already there. It's not something that he needs to prove subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not something that we need to wait for. It's really just the question is whether we're willing to show ours, or not. So he goes through these blessings subhanahu wa ta'ala about Jannat al-Na'im. And then the verse that we're going to start reading, he's going to talk about another section of Jannah. وَمِن دُونِهِمَا جَنَّتَانِ. And we'll start reciting inshallah from those verses بإذن الله تعالى. So ayah number 62 of Surah Ar-Rahman. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن دونهما جنتان. فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مدهامتان So when you see a med and you see after it a letter that has a shadda on it, you know automatically this is going to be a 6 count. So it's going to be mudaha, it's going to be a 6 count. And then you have on the meme, there's a shadda as I said, and the meme whenever it has a shadda on it, like the noon, you're going to give it 2 counts. So it's going to be mudaha, go 6, you give it another 2 counts in order for the verse to be recited properly. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ فيهما عينان نضاختان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. So he says, وَمِن دُونِهِمَا جَنَّتَانِ. And aside from them, so دُونِهِمَا has one of two meanings. Either aside from the two gardens he's already pointed out, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we recited and learned about last time. Either aside from them, in addition, or 1 degree under them. And both understandings are appropriate, and even the understanding that one of the brothers had pointed out, some scholars talk about these one being actually a higher level. All of these comprehensions and all of these interpretations are totally fine. They're not a problem. I'm going to go by what I think the verses actually are explaining to a certain degree, just to kind of help the flow. So, وَمِن دُونِهِمَا, the word dunya comes from the fact that it's low. Dana is something that is low. So, dana, that's why وَجَنَ الْجَنَّتَيْنِ دَانٍ or dan. Dan means it's close. It comes from that same root. So, when he says وَمِن دُونِهِمَا, it means and a little bit under them. Is another understanding that is quite appropriate. And it's in keeping with what we're going to recite in Surat Al-Waqi'ah very soon. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala quite commonly in the Quran divides people into 3 groups. The group that show excellence, that do their best, the group that are doing all right, and then the group that are going to be punished. So 2 out of 3 make it to Yawm al-Qiyamah. 2 out of 3, so the odds are pretty much on your side, in your favor. Like the odds are in your favor. 2 out of 3 groups in the Quran are always there. So, يعني فمنهم ظالم لنفسه ومنهم مقتصد ومنهم سابق بالخيرات بإذن الله. Some of them will oppress themselves with the Quran. They won't learn it and use it properly. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. And then those who do just enough, and then those who are soaring ahead. And you find that وَالنَّازِعَاتِ غَرْقًا وَالسَّابِحَاتِ سَبْحًا فَالسَّابِقَاتِ سَبْقًا. So the same thing. It's repeated a lot in the Quran. And you'll find it in Surah Al-Waqi'ah very soon. And it's السابقون, then أصحاب اليمين, then أصحاب الشمال. It's always 3 groups. 2 of them make it, and 1 of them doesn't. So here, Wallahu A'lam, I'm seeing it to be similar. He already talked about the group that doesn't at the beginning, and now he's talking about the 2 that do. The ones that get the highest state in Jannah, and the ones that get a little bit less. Doesn't mean that they're not in bliss. Doesn't mean that they're not in Jannah. They're just not in the same level. And people will know that Yawm al-Qiyamah. Like someone will be in Jannah Yawm al-Qiyamah, and they'll know that Quran is in a higher rank. And it won't bother them. Because what actually happens in Jannat al-Na'im is that all of these diseases of the heart, specifically, all of these diseases are removed, are gone. You're not permitted to go in with them. Like there's no entry with one of them still inside of you. As the Prophet ﷺ told us, لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من كبر. If there's a little bit of arrogance, you don't go in, you stay outside. And then he gave other examples. لا يدخل الجنة قتات, لا يدخل الجنة نمام, لا يدخل الجنة قاطع, لا يدخل الجنة عاق. There's all these other hadith that talk about specific things. Certain problems, as long as they're there, you have to wait until they're gone. They have to be purified. Whether you purify them in dunya, or you perform tawbah before you die, or there's punishment, or there's like the difficulties of Yawm al-Qiyamah that will kind of purify you on the way there. But you're not entering without these things being removed from your heart. That's for sure. So in Jannah, when you're there, you don't feel jealousy. Because there's no reason to feel jealousy. Jealousy is based on an illusion. It's based on an illusion. I have convinced myself I am better than Fulan, so I don't understand why they're getting more than me. That's what it is. To break it down really simplistically. I convince myself that I am equal or better, so why is he getting this and I'm not getting it? It doesn't fit, so I'm jealous and I'm upset that they have it and I don't have it. If I can't have it, at least they shouldn't have it, because that way we're equal. So that's kind of one of the roots of jealousy. There's many other roots, but I'm just giving you an idea, a way of how it can. So it's an illusion. These illusions don't exist on the Day of Judgment anymore. They're gone. They disappear. Like that, really quickly. The moment you see the universe crumble, and the moment you actually see Jahannam, if you're still standing, then hopefully none of us are. Say Allahumma ameen, Jannah there. But when it's being dragged in front of people, with the 70,000 chains, with each chain with 70,000 of the malaika holding it down so it does not devour everyone standing there. When you see that, whatever little bit of vanity that was in the heart is gone, because now the reality kind of clicks in really quickly to what I am and what I'm capable of and what I've done with my life. So you lose a lot of that. It's hard that you'll come to Jannah with any arrogance left if you've actually witnessed these things. But some people are. Some people have a very a very thick firewall inside themselves. It's unpenetratable, like it's hard for them to see themselves as anything else, anything other than what they convince themselves to be. But we do know that in Jannah all these things are gone. You don't feel that jealousy or hateful, because you understand the reality of things. See, nothing is unknown anymore. There's nothing to be, we know exactly the reality of everything. We're there with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know exactly what we are. We know exactly why we're there, in whose presence we stay. All of that which is right now, it should be certainty, but because it is on different degrees of reality to all of us, it goes away. That's why the level of iman of everybody on the Day of Judgment is perfect. It's at the level that everyone, like we won't differ on the Day of Judgment in our iman anymore, because we saw it. It's now ayn al-yaqeen, it's haqq al-yaqeen now. It's haqq al-yaqeen. Now you're experiencing it. So there's ilm al-yaqeen, there's the certainty of knowledge, which if you learn and educate yourself and you develop a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will achieve in this dunya, which is you'll have certainty of knowledge. You don't need to be convinced anymore. Ayn al-yaqeen is when you actually are able to see it, or one of your senses actually are able to touch it. And even that you can maybe get in dunya to a certain degree, which is maybe not the eye sense, but maybe the spiritual one. But haqq al-yaqeen is when you actually physically experience it. You walk through the valley. You're there. You're right there. Haqq al-yaqeen appears on Yawm al-Qiyamah. When it does occur, there's nothing left. There's no room for debate anymore. We're not going to be discussing this as an issue, whether it's real or not. It's right there. And touch it, see if it's real or not. See if that. هذه جهنم التي, that's what the surah, we just recited it last week. هذه جهنم التي يكذب بها المجرمون. This is Jahannam that they said isn't a thing. Right there. So how you like it now? Is it not a thing now? Maybe this should have been discussed before, eh? And then maybe a lot of the sorrow that was going to come later could have been avoided. There's no jealousy in Jannah is what I'm trying to say. So you'll be there and you'll know that Fulan is of a higher rank, and you'll be happy. And you'll be happy for them, and you'll be in awe of their character, because they didn't assign themselves to that higher rank. People didn't vote them into it. They're not fooling anyone. The one who assigned them to that is God himself. And no one can fool Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he assigns Fulan to be higher rank, then we turn to that person with love. Because this person Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves more, so because we love Allah, we love this person more too. So it's a completely different mindset. A lot of things change. So the people don't have a problem with being a little bit lower. And the example for that, which I'll tell next Saturday, during the Battle of Mu'tah, when the Prophet ﷺ talked about the three leaders, he talked about Zayd and Ja'far and Abdullah ibn Rawaha, he talked about he actually narrated what was happening to them live on the minbar. He was telling, this is what happens to Zayd. He was carrying the flag, and he fought well, and then he was killed, and he fell. He never turned his back, and he did not hesitate. And then Ja'far did the same thing, and he lost both arms in the process, holding the flag with his torso. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him two wings in Jannah. And then Abdullah ibn Rawaha did the same thing. He took the flag, he fought. And then he says, and he is one, I can see them all in beds, one in front of the other, but Abdullah is a little bit lower. Just like a teeny bit, kind of one rank below them. So they asked him, Ya Rasulullah, why? فَقَالَ تَلَكَّأَ هُنَيْهَا. This is the word he used, قال تَلَكَّأَ هُنَيْهَا. He hesitated for a moment. Hunayha is like a moment, a breath. Hunayha has two ha's in it. It's like a breath. It's like an in and out. No one saw him hesitate. No one knew about it. He just inside himself for a moment there. Just before he picked up the flag, he wasn't sure. So he told himself, no, ya nafsu, ma lak he said, he gave some poetry. يا نفس لتأخذنه أو لتكرهنه ما لك تكرهين الجنة. Nafs, you're going to take it, either you take it on your own or I force you to. What's wrong with you? Do you not want Jannah? And so he said some poetry that day and he held on to it. No one knew that he hesitated, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw the hesitation, so it's one rank lower. Whatever you do, it's all calculated down to the detail. It's not going to be treated like in bulk. It's not a bulk sale. Everything you do is being documented. It's going to be recorded, and it has ranking, and that's what you'll be given, whatever you did. The higher you want to go, work harder. Show more gratitude. All life is really. It's just showing gratitude. There's nothing. Surat AlRahman covers every aspect of our lives. Like there's nothing else that you need to do. You just show gratitude for what you got, and if you don't have it, well then persevere until you do. That's it. There's no third option. You have it, yes. Show gratitude, meaning use it for khair and serve others. You don't have it, well, persevere until you have it. Or work towards getting it, and that's the part of perseverance. And that, understanding perseverance is if you want something and you don't have it, you work hard and try to obtain it in your life. And that's being perseverant, a part of perseverance. Don't imagine perseverance as someone sitting there waiting for something. Perseverance is someone walking up. Whenever I say the word perseverance, I want you to have a mental image. Have this mental image every time I say the word perseverance or sabr in Islam. When you hear the word, imagine a person walking up a mountain in a dark night with rain and cold and wind, and he's falling and getting up again, and they're stumbling, and that's sabr. Sabr is you persevere, keep on going, no matter how hard it is. There's no third option. Surat AlRahman covers the majority of your life, because you have so much. He already pointed out how much we already have. None of these ni'mah, none of these blessings in Surat AlRahman are specific. That's why I told you this at the beginning. None of them are for one group, not the other. We all have this stuff. So by default, just being a human, an intellectual human being alive, you already have a lot to be thankful for. Already. Just by the default of taking a breath and opening your eyes and being alive, you already have things to be grateful for. Yes, there'll be things that you want, you don't have, you show perseverance, but otherwise, without even getting into the nitty-gritty of your personal life story, of what it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually gave you specifically, that you didn't give others, or that you have an advantage over others because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dealt you the hand early on, not even getting into that, which is obviously you have to do that on your own. Just the basics. You have a lot to be grateful for. So, مِن دُونِهِ مَا جَنَّتَانِ, that's my understanding of it. That's the tafseer the Jumhur ulama look at. And right under those heavens are two other paradises, or gardens for people, just a little bit under. So he starts describing them, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the descriptions, in my opinion, linguistically are beautiful because there's a comparison between, it's almost the same way, but a little bit of different choice of words. So up there, go to ayah number 48, for example. When he talked about the initial two jannat, he said, ذَوَاتَ أَفْنَانٍ. Fanan is a branch. And ذَوَاتَ أَفْنَانٍ, I mean, there's a lot of branches, and this is figuratively meaning there's a lot of options. The options were endless. There's so many different. Here he said, مُدَهَامَّتَانٍ, that they were so green that they almost turned black. So there's options, but they're just not as well defined. They're there. There's a lot. It's just not as well defined as the first two. Whereas afnan, you can actually see. You can see everything. Here's mudahammatan. They're very dark to the point where when green, when you make dark green, the darker it gets, it can turn green turns black. And people who take pictures of the Amazon from above, you can see parts of it that look black. They're not black. It's so green. So it's almost there's a lot of options, but they're not as well defined or as clear as the one in the first Jannah. The first one, right after, he said, فِيهِمَا عَيْنَانِ تَجْرِيَانِ. In these commentary, just so I don't take credit for them, or the commentary of Talib ibn Ashur, rahmatullah alayhi, in his tafsir, as he kind of looked at them this way, he said, فِيهِمَا عَيْنَانِ تَجْرِيَانِ. The first one, within them are two springs that are flowing. The other one, he said, فِيهِمَا عَيْنَانِ نَضَّاخَتَانِ. They have two springs that are gushing water. And he said that flowing is much more peaceful than gushing. So flowing is more peaceful. They're both beautiful to see, but flowing is more beautiful and more peaceful than gushing. Even the choices of words in the verses are very specific and very precise. I think that's all we read, though, right? After each of these ayat, again, same thing. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Which of the bounties of your Lord? Nothing. You have no right to do any of it. I am forced to be grateful for everything, even the stuff I don't like, because the opposite is nothing, because the other side, the flip side of the coin is nothing. Hey, you wanted nothing? You never wanted to exist in the beginning? No one does. Even those who are upset in their lives. Even those who are very, very upset. No one never wanted to exist. Some people are living such a hard life that they can't stand their own existence right now. But no one deep inside wants that nothingness. Nothingness is scary. Nothingness is the number one fear of human beings. The human race fears in its core. In its core, it fears nothingness. Fear it. It haunts us. We get scared. What if I'm not there anymore? Lights out, that's it. Scary. It's okay to be afraid of it, by the way. Islam teaches you to make peace with it. Islam teaches you this is a part of it. Don't worry. It's part of it. Get through it like everything else. Actually a blessing. You need it. Without it, you can't be motivated. Not knowing that a moment will come where you're not there anymore. Again, if I'm not going to die, then I can't really come up with a good reason to do anything. Whatever I don't do today, tomorrow, or the day after, or maybe next year, what difference does it make? I'm here forever. That nothingness that we fear is still a blessing from Allah. Continue the verses after. فِيهِمَا فَاكِهَةٌ وَنَخْلٌ وَرُمَّانٌ فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ فِيهِنَّ خَيْرَاتٌ حِسَانٌ فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ حور مقصورات في الخيام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان So again, it's a 6 count, very good. And then the noon, because it has a shadda on it, and a noon, whenever it has a shadda, you give it 2 counts. So it's 6 counts for the med, for the ja, and then 2 counts for the noon. Ja, that's how you stop at it. Stop, and then you continue. Ja, noon, fabi'ayyi, if you were to continue, but you probably would never do that. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ So he continues, and it's exactly the same sequence as the verses before that were explaining the first 2 gardens. Exact same sequence. So the options, and then the springs, the water, and now the drink, and now the food. So the first time, the first فيهما من كل فاكهة زوجان. From every species, there are variety. There are many. Here he actually counts a few, subhanahu wa ta'ala, to almost indicate that there's a lot, but not the same degree of variety that existed in the other 2. فِيهِمَا فَاكِهَةٌ. There's a lot of fakihah, which are your fruit or whatever you eat for pleasure. وَنَخْلٌ. And they're palm trees. وَرُمَّانٌ. And pomegranates. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Same question being repeated time and time again. I'm not going to nag you, but the verses to a certain degree are forcing the issue. We're coming towards the end of the surah. So you have to actually, you have to take it. You have to start noticing that whenever you read Surat AlRahman, you're being asked, and it's not being let it go. He's not letting it go. He's coming back time and time again. He did not ask you once and let it, no, keeps on asking until the end of the surah. Because you have to answer. Which of these? Which of these? I am promising you this. I am promising you this. Even if you don't do amazing, you do acceptably, this is what you get. Not bad. Huh? Not bad. جنتان مدهامتان فيهما عينان نضاختان وفاكهة ونخل ورمان. Not bad for basically what we're doing. It's not that much. And when you actually look at it, so how could we not be grateful? There's just no good answer for it. فِيهِنَّ خَيْرَاتٌ حِسَانٌ. Within them, you will find great beauties. This is the part that talks about spouses or intimacy. حُورٌ مَقْصُورَاتٌ فِي الْخِيَامِ. Beautiful spouses that are in pavilions, khiyam or tents, that meaning they're dedicated for their spouses. لَمْ يَطْمِثْهُنَّ إِنسٌ قَبْلَهُمْ وَلَا جَانٌ. They are for their spouses and only their spouses. No one has touched them, no one has seen them before. This is something specific to their spouse, it's only theirs. That intimacy piece that human beings want. Human beings want to be wanted and want something that is specific for them, that's intimate for them. It's very important. This is a part of life that if you don't have, you're not that happy. There's something missing. Relationships make you happy. It's a part of your recipe of happiness is having good relationships. And a part of that is having a relationship that is intimate, where you are maqsoor. Maqsoor means only for one person. It's exclusive. There's an exclusivity aspect of it. People need that so they can feel that they're special and that they have a connection with somebody. So these verses are similar, but the ones at the beginning, and the ones at the beginning talk about the actual reclining. مُتَّكِئِينَ عَلَى فُرُشٍ بَطَائِنُهَا مِنْ إِسْتَبْرَقٍ. It talks about the fact that you're in a position of complete relaxation. Everything that you want is there. It doesn't come up here. In the first ones, he says, كَأَنَّهُنَّ الْيَاقُوتُ وَالْمَرْجَانِ. It describes the level of purity. It doesn't do the same thing here. Here just focuses on the fact that you will find, hisan is beautiful, khayrat, meaning full of goodness. You will find spouses that are filled with goodness and are extremely beautiful. And as they sit there and they're exclusive to you in their pavilions, no one has accessed them before and they're yours and only yours. And this is our spouses. And it goes both ways. This is for both men and women. This is the concept of spouses in Jannah. It goes both ways. Just not talked about in the, yes. Yes. So no waswasa. Yeah, so sorry?
Interchange men, the jinn can also touch or to the human being, human can touch to the jinn?
Yeah, so the effect that jinn has over human beings, which is the effect of, and then these are not actually talking about women or men or spouses in Jannah that are human. This is talking about the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists in Jannah that we don't even understand fully. Meaning in Jannah, there are creations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created within Jannah for those who enter Jannah that are not necessarily human to begin with, which is what this verse is actually taken as the understanding of it. That's why Hurun Maqsurat is referring to whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created in Jannah, who are specific for Jannah, meaning they're just there for the human being. The human being himself is who's going to be finding that. So, and that's important because understanding it in another way will put the consideration of a human being in Jannah as a target of someone else's pleasure, which is not the case. If you're entering Jannah on your merit, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enters Jannah, you're not the target of someone else's pleasure. You're the target of your own. So you will have your spouse waiting for you. So this is what this is talking about. And maybe the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Jannah are those who can be accessed by both ins and jinn. Wallahu a'lam. And that will be left to the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I don't know. I wouldn't have a way to know that. So we continue the verse after that, inshallah, and then we come towards the end. مُتَّكِئِينَ عَلَى رَفْرَفٍ خُضْرٍ وَعَبْقَرِيٍّ حِسَانٍ. So it's رَفْرَفٍ خُضْرٍ وَعَبْقَرِيٍّ حِسَانٍ. I'll explain what that means in a moment. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. And here he finishes this description of the Jannah, talking about reclining. Rafraf and khudr, or rafraf, is basically a word that is used to describe carpets or fabric or any form of furniture. So rafraf and khudr, green carpets. Abqari, the word abqari actually means anything that is so beautiful that there is nothing similar to it. Which is why when we talk about someone who is a genius, we use the word in Arabic, for example, we use the word abqari, meaning someone who is of a level of intellect that there's nothing similar to it. So the Arabs start to use this word to describe anything, and it comes from the root of abqar, anything that has no similar, there's no equivalent, there's nothing like it ever. So abqariyin hisan, and beautiful, so he's talking about rafrafin, which is furniture or carpets or whatever exists in houses that are green, khudrin wa abqariyin hisan, and made in a way that is beyond beautiful. I mean, the level of beauty is something that the eye has never seen before. No, nothing has ever been able to imagine or come up with in the past. The Prophet ﷺ, the hadith narrated by Ibn Majah, tells us that on the Day of Judgment, the last person to leave Jahannam, wal-iyadhu billah, the last person to leave Jahannam, is a person who crawls his way up, makes it out. Jazakallah khair, I'm good. He comes out of Jahannam and he is severely burnt. It's been ages and ages of punishment. He finds a river called the river of Haya, the river of life. It's right outside. And within it he falls. And through it he is regenerated to the form that he was in before. And he comes out and he sits right at the bank of this river. And he looks around. This is the story the Prophet ﷺ told when he was asked about the person who was going to be in the lowest rank of Jannah. Like the lowest rank. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ja'alna min ahli Jannah ajma'in, say ameen. But the one with the lowest rank. So he told the story. And there are some issues of authenticity, but it's a hadith that's accepted in general by scholars of hadith. So he'd sit there on the bank of the river. He would look around, and he would see, just as far as maybe close to the horizon, he could see a tree. And the tree seems very beautiful. There's fruit, there's shade, there's water beside it. So he sits there, realizing that he just left Jahannam. He looks at it and he says, Alhamdulillah alladhi najjani minki. All praise be to Allah that I'm no longer in you anymore. And he says, Ya Rab, urzuqni shajara. Ya Rab, let me go and just sit there under the tree. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, Abdi, وَلَا تَسْأَلُنِي غَيْرَهَا. And that's it. No more. I got you out of Jahannam. That's it. I'll grant you this one last thing. You take it, and then we're done. قَالَ رَبْ أَيْ رَبِّي. Yes, nothing else. Just give me a place to sleep and some fruit and water and shade, and I don't want anything else. So his Lord grants him that. So he goes and he sits under the tree and he eats the fruit and he drinks the water and he lies in the shade. He's very happy. He's very content. And he looks up and he sees a bit farther a bigger one, something much more variety. The tree is bigger, the water is clearer, there are more fruits, the shade seems to be much more comfortable, nice grass under it. So he waits for a bit because he gave his word that he wouldn't ask for more. He waits for a while and for as long as he can, and then he says, Rabbi, urzuqni tilka shajara. Can I go there? Can you let me, so just over there. قال عبدي وعدتني ألا تسألني غيرها. You just told me, oh my servant, that you wouldn't ask me for anything else. فقال ربي هذه. Just give me this one. I won't ask for anything else. فيعطيه ربه مراده. And his Lord says, okay, go ahead. You're welcome. So he goes to the other tree. It's bigger. There's more variety. He eats more. He drinks more. He sleeps a little bit more. Feels better. He looks up. He sees another one. This one's way bigger. It's much higher. The water is just much more clear and bluer, and you know how it is. It's always greener on the other side. So he looks up there, فَيَنْتَظِرْ مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَهُ أَنْ يَنْتَظِرْ. So he waits for as long as he can possibly wait. He waits for whatever he can wait. And then he finally says, Rabbi, urzuqniha, let me go there. It's only Abdi. وعدتني, you told me last time. قال ربي لا أسألك غيرها. I'll never ask you for anything again. You took me out of Jahannam, I'm already way beyond, I'm out of my league here. I shouldn't be asking for this. So his Lord grants him that. He goes, he sits there, he eats and he drinks and he sleeps. And he enjoys the scenery and the comfort. قال ثم يظهر الله له جنة النعيم. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings to him, or makes apparent to him, جنة النعيم. He sees Jannah. قال فينظر إليها فيرى ما فيها ومن فيها. So he looks and he sees what's in it and who's in it. قال فيصبر ما شاء الله له أن يصبر. And then he's patient for as long as he can possibly be patient. And he's patient after asking for three things 3 times and breaking his word twice. He continues to wait, finding it very difficult to break his word yet again. But finally, his instincts, his human instincts, they kick in because we can't help it. We're greedy and we want everything. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. And He's not asking you to get rid of that. It's a part of who you are. You want leisure, you want pleasure, you want ease, you want happiness, you want it. I want it too. Everyone does here. It's normal. It's normal. There's nothing wrong with that. The only problem is that if you take that which is not yours, if you try and pursue that by stepping on other people's heads in the process, if you don't understand that dunya, you can never actually get enough of it. It's not designed to actually fulfill your thirst or to quench your thirst or fulfill your needs or to fill your it's not. It's just not designed. The more you consume, the more you want, and the more complicated things that you want, and the less happiness you'll find with the things that you've got, and the more you take them, it's like this. You ever heard of the black hole in the universe? It just the more you throw at it, the more it takes. It can devour galaxies, and the more you throw it, the more it takes, and that you have one inside. You are the mirror of the universe Allah created right inside of you. That black hole, the more you throw in it, the more money and food and drink and pleasure, and it just gets bigger and hungrier and more empty. That emptiness just gets bigger and wider, and the pain of that emptiness just keeps on nagging at you, and you're wondering, why do I feel so empty when I have literally more than maybe 99% of people on this planet do on a daily basis? Why can't I find happiness? And then you wonder, and then you start taking a lot of pills, and then you don't, and that doesn't help you, and then it keeps on, because there's a problem here. That selfishness, that greed is supposed to be directed to something else. It's not supposed to be directed to the consumables of dunya. It's supposed to be directed to akhirah. You're supposed to want to be really selfish on the day of judgment. Then you should be selfish. See, this guy is not wrong for wanting to be selfish that day. You're supposed to be. It's just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed this story in a way where the only way you can fulfill that ultimate level of selfishness, which is you to enter Jannah, which is what this guy asked at that final moment when he couldn't help it anymore. For you to fulfill that selfishness of wanting to enter Jannah, not caring about anything else but doing that, the pathway that will take you there is a pathway filled with selflessness. You have to be selfless the whole way there. You want to be fully selfish then? Then walk this path from here to there the whole way. You have to be nothing but selfless. You have to serve others. You have to learn not to be greedy. You have to learn not to only want for yourself. You have to learn to be compassionate genuinely, and to care genuinely, and to feel responsible for others genuinely. You do that on this path, and then ahlan wa sahlan will allow you to be as selfish as you like yawm al-qiyamah. And really, once you enter, you understand that selfishness was not even worth it. There's something much more beautiful that's awaiting you. That just takes a little bit of an intellectual leap of consciousness to understand what's on the other side. So he's sitting there, he can't help it anymore. فقال ربي يا ربي أدخلني الجنة. Oh Allah, grant me. It's Jannah, let me go in. فقال عبدي أدخلها. All right, go. فيظهرها له على أنها ملأة. So he enters, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the vision of Jannah for him. When he enters it, that is full. That's how he sees it. It's never full, but that's how he sees it. He enters, he can't find a spot. There's no, it's like modern day London. There's no apartments there's nothing. There's no vacancy. There's nowhere to go. He can't find a spot to sleep. He can't find a house to buy. There's nothing. He walks into Jannah. He sees it's busy, people, things, all these, something beyond your ability to, but there's no space. So he walks out. He said, Rabbi, mal'a, it's full. I mean, you told me to go in, but there's no, where do I sit? It's like you're faddaled into a setting, and there's no seat for you. You feel very awkward. You walk out to the guy who asked you to come in and say, where faddal, where? Where do I faddal? Where do I sit? So the guy who's he entered Jannah, he comes out, Ya Rab, there's nowhere to go. فقال عبدي أيرضيك أن يكون مثل ملك أعظم ملوك الدنيا في الجنة. How about I give you the sovereignty of the biggest king that ever lived on earth, the amount of sovereignty that they had. So the servant says, Rabbi, تهزأ بي وأنت رب العالمين. You're mocking me and you're the Lord of everything? I mean, I understand other people mocking me because you're Allah. Why would you mock me? فقال عبدي ولك مثله. And you get. I'm going to give you two. فيقول العبد رضيت, I'm good. And that's it. قال ولك مثلها. فيقول رضيت ويقول ولك مثلها. And then he counts 9 times. And I'm going to give you another fold, and another fold, and 4 times, and 5 times, and 6 times. And each time the servant says, Rabbi radit, I'm happy with that. 7 times, 8 times. He counts 9 times. I will give you. And that is the mulk, that's the sovereignty of the person who is the lowest in Jannah. So imagine what whoever is the highest. أولئك قوم يعرضون على ربهم غدوا وعشيا. Those are the ones who get to see their Lord twice a day. فَمَا يَجِدُونَ مِنْ لَذَّةٍ هِيَ أَعْظَمُ عِنْدَهُمْ مِنْهَا. And that's all they care for. They have no other pleasure that they seek. They have nothing that they're looking for, and they're not interested in anything else. All they care for is when is the next time that we go and speak to Allah? When do we get to look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again? Because why? Why waste time on all the other beauties when you can go right to the source? If you can go right to the source of all of this beauty, why would you go and work with a symptom or a consequence or result when you can actually go to the source of it all and be in the presence of the source of every beautiful thing that you've ever experienced and that you have not experienced? So those are the highest people in Jannah. They just meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala twice a day. Everyone does, but not at the same frequency. And this is what you're promised. And these verses that we recite in Surat AlRahman are just explaining that there are two levels of it. A level of full excellence and a level a little bit less, but it's just as good. You still get what you want. You get the variety, you get the drink and the water and the food and the intimacy and the friends and the reclining and the relaxation. It's all there for you, just the way you like it. A little bit of difference, but it's still there. Recite the last verse, inshallah, in the surah. تَبَارَكَ اسْمُ رَبِّكَ ذِي الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. May the name of your Lord increase within its barakah. Tabaraka means may the barakah increase. May the blessings that come from the name of your Lord continue to increase as He is the Lord of honor and He is the Lord of nobility. Dhil Jalali wal Ikram we recited earlier in Surah Al-Rahman. If you go back to ayah number 27. وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ, right? Dhul Jalali wal Ikram. The Lord of nobility and the Lord of generosity, the Lord of magnificence, the Lord of nobility. Tabarak ismu rabbik. May His name continue to produce all of the barakah that it always produces. Because that's the surah began with pointing you to the ultimate blessing, which is His name AlRahman, and it ends with reminding you that His name is the source of all the barakah and all of the khair, all the goodness that continues to come to you and to everything in this world, because it's the name of the Lord of magnificence and generosity, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the beauty of Surah Al-Rahman. It begins and ends at the same note. It's His name, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that granted you all of this. So continue to exalt His name. And continue to remind yourself of His name, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to speak it and to love it and to exist within its grace for as long as you are here. And show gratitude, because that question remains unanswered. See, the surah ended, no answer. It's like it fades away temporarily. Temporarily, that question is now, it's not on your face anymore. Don't worry, you can relax. Every once in a while, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. I tell you, which of them? Which of these blessings, the two of you are not willing to show gratitude for? And then we have to all think about it. It's fading away. For now. This question will come back again. This question will come back, but it'll come back in a different setting. A setting where you can't answer with your words, or your feelings, or your thoughts, or your hopes. You'll answer with a book that you wrote, and whatever is in it is going to be the answer, no matter what you say, no matter what you claim otherwise. You can say all the other things. No. That day I didn't realize. No, it doesn't matter. It's whatever answer you documented. You can't come to the prof after you've written the exam and change your answers and ask, no, I wasn't focused. No, no one cares. This is what you wrote. This is what you're going to be held to. That's where your mark is going to come from. So we should answer the question, inshallah, before time is up. And that's Surah Al-Rahman. That's the question that's the choice that it offers. Either we're people of gratitude and these blessings continue for us, or we're people of lack of gratitude and we lose them and we're held accountable for them. We'll end with that and we'll continue, inshallah ta'ala, next week with Surah Al-Waqi'ah. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa alihi sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakumullahu khairan, barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Have a nice night, inshallah.